Dukes Nukes.
Welcome back, Dukes Nukes. New format. Ooh, we're trying new stuff. Ooh, look at that. New stuff. Look, there's Spider-Man down there. If you're looking at audio, if you're one of the 5 listeners only, wait, on visual, it's on visual. If you're one of the audio listeners, move over to YouTube because we're rebranding for YouTube. Woot woot. Blaine, give me a woot woot.
Woot woot.
Will, I know you don't want to. Only give me one woot.
Woot.
That was more than I thought, so that's okay.
That was good. All right, what are we doing this week, Will?
Please. Spider-Man.
Across all the other Spider-Mans.
Across the Spiderverse.
So many Spider-Men.
There was like 5.
So, into the Spiderverse, man. Okay, so the summary of this movie is we're back with Miles Morales, and he's going on an adventure through the multiverse with Gwen Stacy, and there's a Spider Society led by
Miguel.
Spider-Man 2099, and there's a new villain named Spot, and there's crazy stuff going on with the multiverse, and Miles has to see if he can stop the inevitable.
Well, this was definitely a Duke out of our Duke and Nuke system for a good movie. Duke it.
Right off the bat. I love the Duke, man.
Well, Duke.
It's certainly a Duke.
Certainly a Duke. I guess right off the bat, like what were your reactions without going into too much detail?
I think they swung for an absolute grand slam, and they hit at least a home run. They went really big, and it was very big. But I think there were parts.
It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect, but it was better than like mostly everything else that exists.
It was trying to keep up with the first one, which is very hard to do when you have that big of a success on the first movie.
Well, that first movie blew so many doors down.
Right.
You know, and it was so impressive. You can't capture that lightning twice. And
Remind it, I had to get it replaced.
They kept up.
They didn't try to do it again. They did try to advance the story.
Yeah, and it's definitely a build-up movie. So I think when the next one comes out, this one might be better if the second one's good, because then you could watch them back to back and be like, this is a thing. Right. Currently, it's like it's not that I want more. It's kind of like it just kind of like ends.
Right, because their initial thing was like they made a script and they had to split it in 2 because it was so freaking long. So that's kind of what we got. We got a half of the movie.
I like this movie. I didn't love it. I would probably love it if
I loved it
if I didn't feel the superhero fatigue and reference fatigue and meme fatigue. 2.25 hours long, and I thought that was a little too much.
Right. The approach of this movie was different for me because it was very much, it wasn't going super quick. It was taking its time to build up story, have quips. It was really just build up. And you could feel it, and they did it really well. And they were trying to just show you the beautiful art. It was a slowed down movie compared to the first one, for sure.
I disagree.
Yeah,
I thought this moved along.
The first one's
fast.
The first one's a lot more contained. This one is all over the place, which isn't bad. It's just more all over the place.
Maybe I'm saying it slowed down because they tried to throw so much into it,
well,
and there was just so many more details.
It's more dragged out,
and more characters are more fleshed out than in the first one.
Right. They spend more time explaining the characters and giving them backstories.
Yeah, but I think both of the movies, at least the first one came out in 2018. This one came out in 2023. When I'm watching this one, I'm dying in my bed at 65. Wait, actually, I hope I live longer than that. But
you just retired. Now you're dying.
I thought you were living till like 300.
You're lucky.
I thought you were Aragorn, man.
I retired to die. I was being nice to my company. It's like, hey, I'm dying. See ya, boss. See ya, Gary. My boss is named Gary.
How are you nice to your company? You're already retiring.
Because they treated me well.
Oh, okay.
I think this movie is more of a celebration of Spider-Man more than a Spider-Man movie. Thoughts?
I think it turns into that. It starts
about halfway through.
It starts really character focused. It doesn't even open with Miles Morales. It opens with focus on Gwennifer. Is her name actually Gwennifer?
Gwen. No,
okay.
Gwen.
It opens on Gwen.
Her name's Gwanda.
Yeah, it opens with Gwen. Drumming.
And it's about drumming, about her actual life. I don't know did we know she was a musician in the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't really fleshed out. Are we going into spoilers?
Not yet.
This is the setup, dude.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to say they are. The movie is very focused on other characters that, especially Gwen from the first movie, and how Miles is dealing with the.
I kind of like that, though.
The events, the cause and effect of the first movie. The first movie, while being contained, is the cause for the second movie. That includes all of the Spider-Men and the villain. It is. I mean, it's one of those like Star Trek Wrath of Khan. Villain comes back for revenge kind of thing. The hero creates his own villain, that sort of thing. stereotypical, but it's done with a lot of heart, and the animation is truly
flawless.
unique. Truly unique. And every time they go to
so
a different dimension, every dimension has a different art style.
There's 6 main ones, 5 or 6 main ones, but there's like a bunch of other ones they go to. Like,
Yeah.
spoilers.
Okay, so
Black Ops 2.
everyone should see it, right? Do we all agree on that?
If you saw the first one and enjoyed the first one, you'll enjoy this one.
You like colors? See it.
There's a lot of, like, on the screen, there's so much going on. It was mind-blowing how many...
Well, that's what I was talking about with the pace, man. The pace is so fast. And the action is so quick.
But this is this is why it's so confusing, because it's like so quick, so much is going on, but at the same time, the story is being slowly built up.
The story is very slow.
Right, that's what I meant.
Which
when
is
it's
very
slow.
interesting because of how fast of a movie it is.
Right.
I think it
It's
felt
crazy.
Which, that isn't a complaint. That's just an observation.
Right. They did it fantastic.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic.
the bloating for me came with the action sequences, especially towards the end. The action sequences dragged on a little too long.
Yeah, but I think it's more of just to flex the anime. The movie's more of a vibe than a movie, even though it's a
Right.
fantastic movie. It could kill an old person.
True.
Because it's so
how many
crazy.
lights and crazy stuff is
There's
going
a lot
on.
of stuff flashing. They might
yeah.
just be like some old guy. He's like, D-Day,
Yeah, if you can't handle like flashing lights, man, probably stay away from this one. How's it doing so far in the box office, Jack?
It's doing pretty well. It's projected to get 100 million-ish opening weekend, which is about the budget of the movie, which is very good for an animated movie. The first one only made about 35-ish million opening weekend.
That's awesome.
But it did really well, like word of mouth. That's why they were able to make this one and also make the second one with this one at the same time. That's why, because the second one's going to come out in like 9 months. It comes out.
So you mean the third one?
Or the third. The
third
second
one, yeah.
one.
This
is
is the second one.
Like
so they made
the part
2 and
two is
3 at
part
the
one.
same. So 3 is in post production right now. You're
Yes.
saying? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's. I think they said around March
Okay.
of 2024.
Neat.
This actually sort of came out 9 months ago, but all the COVID stuff had it pushed back 9 months.
Gotcha.
So this was supposed to come out late 2022, and then sometime in 2023, part 3 was supposed to come out, but then all that got pushed back like a year.
Hey, I'm excited it's out now, man. So let's go into
want it now.
spoilers.
Spoilers.
All right, so we're just gonna kind of
You wanna
jump into the plot, go through it,
I'll
man.
do a little quick little bullet points. So Miles Morales, he's Spider-Man. He's like flip one eye. He's like, whoa, I'm Spider-Man. Spider-Man noise.
Spider-Man.
And then he's doing a Spider-Man thing, but he's also still in school. He's like, ooh, look, I'm in school, but my parents and I were fighting. And then
Continue.
and then Gwen Stacy's back. Spider-Man's like, oh my gosh, it's Gwen Stacy. Oh my gosh.
And
I
she's
love
having
you.
her own issues.
I love your half-shaved head. And then, but Spider-Man fights his villain, and he's like, you suck. But then he's like, no, I'm actually a really good villain. And then that guy becomes like the biggest villain of all time. And Gwen Stacy's actually part of the Spiderverse people. So Miles sneaks in and joins the Spiderverse people, and they hop around all these little different dimensions. But then the Spiderverse guy is actually like, I'm going to kill your dad. And then part 3 will come out. That's the movie.
That is the movie. Do we want to fill that in a little bit for?
No, we can go through it. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's
about it.
That's
Yeah.
about it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's start filling it in. What do you guys? Okay,
Basically, everybody has to. All the Spider-Men have to suffer a tragedy, and if
To
that
become a
tragedy
hero.
is avoided, it causes their universe to implode. And Miles' tragedy
Was his uncle.
Was his uncle, but now it's his dad.
Because he wasn't supposed to be a Spider-Man. Because
Yes.
his spider's from another dimension.
So he gets both canons, right? Because that's what they were saying. The canons are the things that the Spider-Men are stuck to.
Because usually a lot of the Spider-Man candidates, which we can talk about later, is like,
It's Uncle Ben,
it's Uncle Ben, or it could be Captain Stacy if it goes the Gwen Stacy route.
right?
Usually those are the main two. Or it could be, it's usually Uncle Ben, and then Captain Stacy usually just in there.
Yeah. So Miles has both.
And the Secret Spider Society is responsible for ensuring that the canon remains intact. So they basically want to just let Miles' dad die. And Miles is not cool with that.
And they were keeping Miles out of this society because he is an anomaly. Like, he has caused this issue because he was never meant to be Spider-Man, which we learned throughout that the villain was the one that brought this spider that bit Miles from a different universe, which causes this whole thing. So it's all Miles' fault, pretty much.
Lots of interweaving things.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of things that tie together. It even brought stuff back from the first movie where Miles Morales' Peter from his universe wasn't supposed to die, but because Miles was there, Peter from his universe died.
Right.
So
yeah.
now Miguel is kind of pissed about that.
Yeah, and because he got bit by a spider from a different universe, that universe doesn't have a Spider-Man. So that's kind of where the movie kind of ends. Miles is stuck in that separate universe, which is freaking awesome. Yeah, dude, it's just so good. And jumping through the worlds, let's start talking about like the art and the animation between each world, man.
So like when like there's like a tense scene happening, it like her like world is like collapsing, so the colors aren't as stable.
Yeah,
But-
so
Yeah.
when the colors match the emotions of the characters. So like,
But not only the colors, like their structure.
yeah, they
The
start
whole art.
At
yeah,
one
just,
point,
like,
they start like
warps.
melting. When she hugs her dad, they all turn to warm shades.
And they get more solid. Like it gets more like framey and stable.
And
like,
she
their
starts
relationship.
smiling and she's happy. And then
She's like, I want to grow more hair.
is that what happens to you every morning? You're
No.
like, I'm so
Dude,
happy.
You're so mean.
And then you're like, I want to grow more hair, and it just goes like a sad shade. The whole room warps.
Bro.
Sorry.
No, that's hilarious.
I couldn't resist. You brought in the hair, man. He brought it up. Back to the colors, man. Yeah, because it was just following the emotions throughout. And oh god, that was so good. So the opening scene with Gwen, and then
Wanda.
and then we go back to Miles, and it's back to that like same style and art of the first movie, like that was mainly shown in the first movie. I mean, not a lot to talk on that art style. Like we were familiar with
We
it.
get it.
That's what
Well,
we
it was-
like. It's the comic book feel.
I think
man.
by this point, I think everybody knows the movie that cares about the movie. So like, I mean, like, I think the interesting thing is how they have all the different styles of characters and how they can just pluck them in different areas and just incorporate their physics and their art in different areas.
Yeah.
Which I find is very interesting.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Like a guy who's just like paper mache or something could just be like in a regular animation thing or like in a anime thing or like a live action thing. And I mean, they referenced every single thing.
Dude, we
Like,
got
even
got,
Lego.
yeah, we got Lego
The
Star
Lego one,
Wars.
I was
We got
that might have been
Toby.
my biggest complaint actually. I was so sad the Lego guy did not come back.
I was too. But do you guys? It might be a fact, but that's because the directors of this movie are the directors of the Lego movie.
Yeah, they've
I
the
did not
guy
know
the guy
that.
the
Lord and
people
Miller.
the people who make this movie are like so like just like a lot of the people who worked on this also worked on like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like all these people are really like in depth on animation. Like the
I mean, you could
Clearly,
tell.
they know what they're doing.
Clearly, they're
Like this-
they're giving you a masterpiece.
My only complaint was they gave me too much.
That's why I almost
you're
want
gonna like it.
I almost want to go back because I feel like there was so much I need to like.
There was
That's
Go
so
back
much
and see
goes
it, man.
by.
there,
yeah.
there was a scene in the movie where everybody was looking at like, oh my gosh, that's a thing. And I already saw that thing and I was like, that's obvious. I know that. But then I was looking at like the other side of the screen because there was two other things and I'm like, nobody's looking at this. And this is actually a different thing that nobody's paying attention to. And I'm going to look at it because I appreciate this more.
That's what I watched an interview real quick with them, and that's what they were saying, dude. You got to go through it's rewatchable because they throw so much into every single scene.
Like they
that
had like,
you can find something new every single time you watch.
like they had
I'm
like,
kind of conflicted about that.
I think it's a lot, but you need to.
I'm okay with it because it's not
as long as you just.
because all of it's more
It's-
of like
it's a
background
preference.
stuff that could be pulled out and put in with something else, but it's more of like, well, let's just put in stuff that people would like.
The one that actually ticked me off is where they did the Spider-Man pointy meme because they did it in the first movie.
Yeah, but that's funny.
I don't think it needed to be there,
Nitpick.
but it
Full
wasn't.
nitpick.
What I appreciated was it didn't need it because it stood on its own. It did it, whatever. But like a lot of movies now, like they do memes like that and they rely on those memes.
Right, that's all it is.
And Spider-Man did not rely on that meme.
No.
By any means.
No. What's another thing you liked?
Another thing of reference. Well, I mean, like I do like how they ingrained like I mean, like I'm pretty sure every single Spider-Man thing that's ever put on TV or movie was in some fashion in this movie.
It was insane.
They had the MCU stuff, they had Andrew Garfield stuff, they had Tobey Maguire stuff, they had Venom stuff.
They had Lego stuff. They had the animation.
Well, do you
I
remember-
have another
TV
nitpick.
shows?
Well, I know you
The
do.
fact that they just showed footage of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I was like, really?
But they count. That's the thing.
Yeah. But
I would argue,
but I really liked Donald Glover's cameo.
Yes,
that was
because that was a
great.
cameo and not just footage from him in
Twice.
Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I see what you're saying.
Well, and I agree with you that they didn't shoot anything new for Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, but at the same time, the way that they used them, though, that was like they were showing like the Andrew Garfield was showing an Uncle Ben death, for example. It's like, well, that was what happened.
And Andrew Garfield was showing Captain Stacy.
So
it has a point. I was just took me out a little bit. Nitpick.
That's fair. But it's back to like, dude, animation is... You have to do this stuff with animation.
It wouldn't work live action.
No.
It just wouldn't work.
I think they pulled I think they got into a room. They locked all the writers in a room. They're like, you can't get out. And then they were like, you need to think of everything possible you could do in animation you couldn't do in live action. You could do it. And they were like, okay. And they came back with like 40 things. And they're like, we need 200. It's like, okay. Can we have food now?
Even some of their kind of trademark cinematography moves, when somebody's standing on a ledge and then just kind of straight up walks around to the bottom, you could do that in live action. But there is something that just feels so right about it in animation.
Right.
I know we were talking about some of the characters. I mean, Miles was great. I mean, Gwen was great. I know it's kind of a complaint for some people, but I kind of liked how they delved more into the Gwen character because
That's a complaint?
well, some people complain about it.
But
This movie just came out.
I love the Gwen
Well,
character.
it's because you go and think it's a Miles Morales movie, I guess. I don't know.
No, I was fine. When it opened with Gwen, I was like, yeah, keep going, man.
Keep going.
Because
I was happy.
it feels more of like the universe rather than just Miles.
One thing I've learned to enjoy is I don't want to fucking know what's going on. I don't want to predict, like, I don't want to predict a Miles movie. I want them to give me something that they have a vision for, and the director wants to give me what they want to give me. That's what a good movie is. It's they have a vision, and I don't care what that vision is. Do what you want to do. I don't want it to be cookie cutter.
I feel like you just plagiarized me.
Did I?
At some point, I feel
probably
like I said
did.
exactly that.
Dude, you've been teaching me. I've been will taught.
Just make sure all your references are in APA format. I mean, I don't know. I mean, even though it's a fun movie, because we kind of talked about this, like, you know, like the Spider-Man stuff, it does feel like there's also like, you know, like a lingering sadness to everything.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved how depressing this movie was.
But at the same time, it wasn't.
I loved it.
But it was and it wasn't. Like,
But it
had
was that balance, like Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
No,
it had
it's-
that balance of the sadness, but like the humor and pushed through. Like, even though we're all Spider-Men and we're all a team, we all feel like freaking alone.
Yeah,
And
Spider-Man.
We're all depressed.
Spider-Man,
they're all happy when they're together, and then when they go to their own dimensions, they're always depressed.
I wouldn't say always, but I thought it was so funny when they went through that scene with the therapist where it's just a Spider-Man talking to another Spider-Man.
I liked that one.
And he was
He's like, it all started when, let me guess, when your Uncle Ben died.
get us some trivia, man.
I got two things of trivia. Boom, boom, boom. So there's over 240 characters in this movie. They had over 1,000 animators work on the movie.
And that's what one of the things, just building on that, 1,000 animators, that's kind of how they got so many references into this movie is I think the directors were just like,
Do whatever you
do
want.
whatever you want.
You have access to anything that is Spider-Man IP.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's how you got like the obscure like 90s and early 2000s. Like literally every single Spider-Man thing was just a reference.
Yeah. When an animator felt like adding something, they just added it.
Also, this movie was 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is the longest animated movie ever released in the United States.
Wow.
Ever.
Because I was not expecting that. I looked up the time right before we went into the movie, and I was like, whoa. Because I just assume animated movie, 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Which
I knew
220
going in it was going to be long.
Like
Wow.
220 is about to be the same as like a regular like live action movie, I
a
guess.
long one, too.
Well, I mean a long one, but
Most
like
movies are 90 minutes to 2 hours.
most action movies today are over the 2 hour mark. So like I feel like the drag people might feel is because it's an animated movie and you expect it to be shorter, even though it's roughly the same amount of time an action movie today would be.
So I got 2 facts for you too, if you want me to give my 2 facts.
Sure.
Are you sure? They might
Yeah,
not
I'm
be-
good now.
Okay.
I changed my mind.
Okay. Thank you.
I might change it again. You better hurry.
Okay, so the first fact I got, I thought this just fun little snack of a fact. They retconned at least 2 things. So the first thing that they retconned was like at the beginning when Miles is laying in his bed and Gwen comes from the ceiling?
Because it's the scene from the first movie.
So it's the scene from the first movie. He's like a year younger, and I think he's wearing different clothes, and his room isn't really defined in that, so they didn't know what room he was going to be in for that scene. So they had to retcon that, and then
I don't mind that.
Gwen's dad is totally different. Like the way he looks in this movie is different than what he showed him in.
Was he only in like one shot in the
Yeah,
first
it was
movie?
like one shot in the first movie. I'm not complaining. I just thought it was
because I noticed.
Cool. I forgot that
because I noticed the shirt thing actually. Because I was like, I don't feel like he was wearing that Lakers 24 jersey.
Right.
But I did not notice Gwen's dad at all. I was like,
yeah, it's such a small thing. And then my last thing, this is kind of obscure, so I'm gonna read it for you. So this is How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. So this is a book. And it's a book for parents, like an actual book you can go buy. But it was thrown into the scene where Peter is sleeping, and he's
because he has a
sleeping.
kid.
Yeah, he has a kid.
We didn't even talk about
he had
that.
a kid in this. Yeah, we never did. Anyways, the book was purposely put in there, and the director said that they put it in there to like if you can. They wanted you to be able to read it and actually get something out of it. So I just thought that was kind of cool that they purposely put a book that you can learn from to be a parent.
That, I mean, it also shows that they understand that kids are not to be talked down to, and kids shouldn't have mindless entertainment. Kids should have entertainment with positive messages and deep themes like depression.
No, I think it should have bright colors and noises.
All right. Anything else on Spider-Man, guys?
No, we're done.
Bye.
Like and subscribe. Leave a comment.
Good stuff, man.
Spider-Man. Everyone do Spider-Man.
You need to like Spider-Man fluid go onto the camera.